Annalise, thanks for joining us. My colleague Liz Storr has already preempted my first question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And I can't believe we have to ask this, but bearing in mind, no one's seen Joe Biden for days. He's hiding away with COVID, and he made the announcement via a Twitter account he does not control. Are we absolutely sure the US president knows that he's not running for re-election?
Look, it is bizarre that they've chosen to do it this way. And when they announced it via Twitter yesterday afternoon, there had already been a lid called on the White House press corps. So that's essentially the White House says there's nothing happening today, so you can stand down. You don't need to be on standby for any potential changes. And the assumption was that that was going to change, that there'd be some kind of announcement in the hours after, there'd be some kind of address, like we saw with Lyndon Johnson when he resigned from the campaign, when Richard Nixon stepped down, we saw an address. And then as it became clear that we weren't going to see him, it really did raise those questions about why, especially considering that the press office hasn't been forthright about his clear decline that we've been witnessing in public. They have called it cheap fakes when we all saw the same plain videos showing that he was having issues. So it is a real question. It is on the minds of many, and they've said that he'll address the nation later this week. They're circulating now potentially Tuesday night, but it is utterly bizarre.
Annalise, given that in the 2020 primaries, Kamala had to drop out because she got less than 2% of the vote, we know that she's not exactly popular with the lay party of the Democrats. They've, of course, got to make their own decision at the DNC. Roughly 4,000 delegates, 4,000 votes are involved there. What do you think is the likelihood that, given so many of the people that we have been considered as maybes who would put their hands up, whether it's Newsom, whether it's Buttigieg, the list wears long. So many of them have now pledged their commitment to backing Kamala. What do you think we might see at the DNC next month?
Well, it would have to be a revolt from the ground level up, because you have to look at it from the perspective of all the maybes. Why would you want to get into this mess now? The reason that Joe Biden apparently really decided to tip this to the direction of pulling out was that he was shown polling that showed not only was he going to lose every swing state, he was going to start losing safe blue states. He was going to be looking at risking New Mexico, and Virginia's been on the line for a while, and they were saying, look, you're going to lose that too. So it was going to be quite a humiliating defeat if the trends continued. You can imagine all these young up-and-comers who have time, who have states that they're already the governors of. Why would you jump into this now? And for especially running alongside Kamala Harris, she needs someone who really wants to put forward her agenda, who wants to work with her personally. And she hasn't come up through that traditional party route. You're right, she dropped out of Iowa before she ever had to face a voter. She basically made that one appearance on stage where she insinuated that Joe Biden was racist because he perpetuated racist policies from his time in the Senate, and then dropped out and ended up on the same ticket as him. That's all completely true. So when you're looking at who's going to jump into this, it could be that the delegates themselves decide. And this is what's going to be happening over the next few days, that these delegations we're seeing from Connecticut, they're going to hold a special meeting and they'll decide, are we going to support collectively Kamala Harris? I mean, there's nothing to stop these delegates saying, no, actually, we like someone else, and picking whoever they like. And then it might force the hand of someone else to throw their hat in the ring.
Annalise, I wanted to ask what your response was and that of the press pack generally in Washington, and indeed the community in Washington. There seems to be from a distance a sense that Rome is burning while the Democrats fiddle. It must seem pretty sort of crazy and chaotic there at the moment.
Look, I can tell you, I was copying it a bit from people here that I was going too far in my reporting of Joe Biden's clear cognitive decline. And I just thought it was this kind of ridiculous scenario where I was just trying to tell people something different than what they could see with their own eyes. It was just absurd. And I think it was just such a foregone conclusion. The panic really set in after the debate. And then for the last few weeks, it's just been kind of a day-by-day prospect. But I will tell you, the one thing we did all expect, and we were all, as we were among tons of journalists at the RNC, we were discussing how Biden was going to pull out. And the collective just assumption was, of course, it will be an Oval Office address. So none of us thought it would happen over the weekend because we thought he's still got COVID, he'll have to come back for it. But also, there's similarly a lot of fans of Kamala Harris in Washington, D.C. So I think a lot of them think this is kind of the thing that's saved them all and might need to spend a little more time outside the Beltway.